It's officially been 1 week since AEW's debut show, Double or Nothing. Happening live at the MGM Grand, All Elite Wrestling now is a new alternative to the WWE, having a roster full of bright young talent that are the future of this industry, on top of well-known names establishing themselves in New Japan Pro Wrestling, Ring of Honor, or even in WWE. With one of those Ring of Honor New Japan talents and a former WWE star now clashing for the first ever AEW World Championship. Now, it hasn't been announced at what pay-per-view or what event this title match will be held at, which we can assume it might be at the All Out show between Hangman Adam Page and Y2J Chris Jericho. There's a lot of debate between pro wrestling fans on who should be the first ever world champion of All Elite Wrestling, if it should be Hangman or it should be Chris Jericho. I want Chris Jericho to be the first ever AEW World Champion. Why? Why would I want a veteran over a young star? Why would I want AEW's World Champion to be a former WWE guy, or rather than an up-and-comer that can take AEW, put it on his back and carry it to the future? And that's kind of why I'm making this video, guys. That's why you're watching me on a screen in your house or somewhere out in the world right now. You're watching me talk about it. So let's talk about it. This is Canvas Convo. This is made to start a conversation between pro wrestling fans about somewhat controversial topics in pro wrestling, and on this episode I want to talk about why Chris Jericho should be the first ever AEW World Champion. In the comments down below, who do you guys think should be the first ever World Champion of All Elite Wrestling? If it should be Jericho or it should be Hangman? Or should Brock Lesnar just jump ship and cash in his briefcase and just become World Champion there? Because that definitely would be surprising. Would love to see how Twitter react to that. Chris Jericho by far is one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. I mean, I've been watching this guy since I was 8. Hands down my second or third favorite wrestler of all time behind John Cena and Batista. I'm not gonna get into my favorite all-time wrestlers list because it's really weird. I have Yoshitatsu on that. I don't know. Probably that theme song. That theme song was pretty lit. Like, y'all gotta admit, it was pretty good. But that's beyond the point. I'm Yoshi, I love you, but we're not talking about you right now. In my lifetime of watching pro wrestling live up until this point, I've seen about 4 versions of Chris Jericho. The 2008 version that came out in suits and used really big words and stuff. I learned more big words watching Chris Jericho promos than I probably did in English class. I want a spelling bee using the word chocolate dice. And Chris Jericho didn't call the fans all chocolate dice, which is a person that lives in a cave. Basically called all of us premature animals, which is highly insulting. If it wasn't for this man, I wouldn't have won that 7th grade spelling bee. Thank you, Chris. I know Cody and Kenny haven't said thank you yet for all your AEW efforts, but thank you. You know, you helped me win a spelling bee when I was like, I don't know, like 13 or something, so thanks. Then there was Light-Up Jacket Chris Jericho that came out, just didn't say a word, and then faced CM Punk, and then went back to kind of 2008 Jericho, but still wearing a light-up jacket, which was kind of cool. Then returning Jericho that come back, feud with a couple people, then leave again. That Chris Jericho that kind of did the veteran thing of coming back, put over a new guy, then leave again. I mean, he faced like Ziggler and Fandango and Wyatt, and he had that really good match with CM Punk in 2014. That was really dope. And then we had the list of Jericho, by far the funniest version of Chris Jericho I've ever seen as a fan watching this, who put anyone and anything on the list of Jericho, and it inspired me so much that I ended up actually buying a list of Jericho. And yeah, that was like a $32 list just to get a clipboard with a sticker on it that said list of Jericho. Finally, we have the Chris Jericho that we all know right now of New Japan, AEW Chris Jericho. He's back to the long hair, still wearing the scars. Kind of like a rock star, but an a-hole at the same time. He's more of a brawling type of wrestler. He curses, he doesn't give a crap about anything. He just says whatever's on his mind. And I like this version of Jericho. He's like a teenager, right? He's just very rebellious. He'll do whatever he feels like. You can't tell me I don't listen to the man anymore. That kind of Chris Jericho. I like this version of Jericho. It's quite shocking, to say the least. But this version of Chris Jericho is the man that defeated Kenny Omega at Double or Nothing and has now earned himself an opportunity to become the first ever world champion of All Elite Wrestling. Most people think that Hangman Adam Page is going to win this match, and while I'm okay with Hangman being the first world champion, what's the smartest move in the long run for All Elite Wrestling? Give it to Jericho, who's an established veteran, or Hangman that will probably carry this company to the future? It's a toss-up, Chief. Do you want to keep LeBron as the face of the NBA, or do you kind of want to transition to Steph Curry? You don't really know. But at this moment, as of right now, was in the best interest for All Elite Wrestling for their long-term success? I'm saying Chris Jericho should be the first ever world champion, and I know a lot of people don't agree with me. Don't get triggered. Watch the rest of the video first, gosh. Now, one of my main reasons of why Jericho should be world champion obviously has to do with the man's star power. He's a former WWE world champion. He used to wrestle in WCW, so he has that TNT background, which is great promo material for the man. Last time he was on TNT, he didn't get to be world champion, only the US and Cruiserweight champion. Now coming back to TNT, he's walking in that son of a as world champion. That's impressive. When we're looking at the star power between these two men that are going to be in this match, without a doubt, Chris Jericho is way bigger of a star than Hangman is right now. Which kind of leads me into my next point of who's actually ready to be a world champion in AEW. I'm gonna be brutally honest, I love Hangman Page. He's one of my favorite independent wrestlers at the moment, or not independent anymore because he's with AEW, but he was one of my favorite independent wrestlers, you know, when he was still doing Ring of Honor days and like wrestling on independents and like PWX and like all these other smaller independent wrestling companies. AEW has already established himself as the second biggest wrestling company in the world. And in terms of market value and popularity, it goes WWE, AEW, then probably New Japan, Ring of Honor, Impact, that kind of stuff, right? Personally, if you stuck Hangman on the independents, he could definitely be a world champion of like a smaller promotion, like a Wrestle Circus or a PWX, like I said before. But we're talking about these big level, high stakes stages. Personally, he doesn't feel like he's really world championship ready yet. Not saying he can't be in the future, but as of right now, I wouldn't even make him Impact or ROH world champion. He's definitely at the upper mid-card main event level where he can chase for the world title, but as of right now, to make him the first ever world champion doesn't really necessarily make him a main eventer. I mean, I can take 100 examples from the WWE and show you the guys that really weren't ready to be world champion. And just because they had the world title, it didn't really make them a main eventer. Jack Swagger when he was world champion, or CM Punk's first ever world title reign. And I'm afraid if All Elite Wrestling does that with Hangman Page, it's gonna feel the same way. Sure, the world title win is gonna feel so cool, so electric, and you know, this monumental moment. But maybe a month or two into his title reign, you'd be like, okay, who could be the next world champion? Oh, MJF! Hey, you want a shiny belt? I'm just afraid he's not ready to be world champion yet. Definitely a contender, but not necessarily the world champion at the moment. Because AEW has so many guys on their roster right now, I can name 10 off the top of my head that can be world champions and will be down the line. Now, like the Hangman Page and Kenny Omega, Pentagon Jr., MJF, Sammy Guevara, Kip Sabian, yeah, I would say those guys can be world champion down the line. Joey Janela, Cody, I don't know if he's officially signed yet, but someone like Brian Pillman Jr. can be a world champion. And of course, you know, obviously their biggest signing so far, Jon Moxley, can be a world champion and probably will be eventually. As hardcore wrestling fans or people that are just getting back into wrestling, it's like, oh, I didn't know wrestling was on TNT again. Haven't seen that since WCW. When you go and click on it, you're like, oh, who's this Hangman Page guy? He's the world champion. Like, okay, yeah, he seems cool. So is that basketball game still on? Click! But as casual fans kind of clicking through the screen like, oh, wrestling? I stopped watching WWE a long time ago. It got boring. When's the last time you heard that? Because I know I hear that a lot. They click AEW like, oh my god, it's Chris Jericho. I love that guy. He's the dude that beat The Rock and Steve Austin. That's the guy that did the thing with Shawn Michaels. Wasn't he in that tag team with Big Show? I remember that guy. That's the dude that lost to Fandango. Yeah, it's Chris Jericho. We all know who Chris Jericho is. At the end of the day, the dude's a megastar in wrestling. He's literally an icon. But Malcolm, Chris is old. We don't want to see him as champion. Build new stars. You can build new stars around his star power. A great example that I like to use as a world championship reign that actually at least got stars to like be put at the main event position, not necessarily stay there. But I mean, obviously there's a lot of faults with that world title reign, but the point is, I look at a title reign like 2003's version of Triple H's world title win, which is kind of known as the Reign of Terror. But the point of that is, when Triple H was the world champion, he felt like the final boss of the WWE. Like, you fight your way all the way up to the top, and then here's the final boss. This is Browser. This is the game, Triple H. Because he's a megastar, he's obviously still a great wrestler. And the way the man carries himself, he can easily go back to 2008 Jericho that was probably the best version of like a world champion Jericho. Or he can continue the character that he's doing right now and continue to reinvent himself like he always does, which will definitely make people want to watch and see who can finally overtake the final boss. If it is going to be Hangman or Omega or Pentagon Jr. or someone, maybe the title's on the line, he wins by disqualification, or maybe he wins by a roll up here and there. Not to make the world champion and the world title look bad, but also to make sure like the guys that he's beating don't, you know, get buried. And on top of that, he can also lose matches on TV or maybe just not even wrestle. That way it gives all the younger talent an opportunity to really show himself on TV so fans can buy into them and be like, oh, he should beat that Jericho guy, be world champion. I like that Cody dude. Wasn't he the guy with the mask in the WWE? Wait, hold up. Is that Stardust? And to give Jericho even more credit, even though I've kind of been doing that this entire video, the dude is obviously a very creative person. I mean, we have the list of Jericho. He got over the word it on television. Obviously, the dude can really, you know, work his magic in the wrestling realm. He can make all his feuds, all his challengers feel like they're really important right before he just squashes them like a little bug. Not buries them, but just beats them for the world title. But it has someone like Hangman Page to beat Jericho, which would be great. I'm not saying Hangman shouldn't be world champion. If he wins this title, I'm all for it. Like, he's definitely deserving of it. I just don't feel like he's at the level with fan engagement wise. I mean, he's definitely over when you go to these all-in crowds and stuff. But when our casual fans watching on TV and they don't know who he is, it's gonna take them a moment to really get into him, because a lot of people don't know, like, oh, hey man, he was the guy that killed the famous wrestler Joey Ryan. I love that guy. A lot of people just don't know that. So at the moment, Chris Jericho is your best option to be the world champion of All Elite Wrestling. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much the video. If you really enjoyed, in the comments down below, who should be the first ever world champion of AEW? Should it be Hangman? Should it be Jericho? And who also could be a world champion down the line? Like I said before, Guevara or Kip Sabian, they can be a world champion one day. It's just gonna take some time, but they definitely can be world champions. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. This was Canvas Convos, only made to start a conversation. We're not trying to I'm not trying to kill anyone's opinions. I'm just giving my opinion. You guys let me know yours. We can talk about it. But yeah, guys, thank you for watching this video. If you really enjoyed, make sure to like, comment, share, always subscribe, buy some merch. And you know, it's summertime. Time to pack up those sweatshirts. And you might need a nice little t-shirt to go outside in. So I recommend you buy a subscribe shirt. The hottest merch in the game. That's a Logan Paul reference I never want to say again in my life. It's a proven fact that wearing a subscribe shirt makes you like 80% more attractive. So like, if you want to look 80% more attractive, you might as well put one on. And, you know, it's pretty cheap. I think it's reasonable, affordable clothing. So buy one, or 2, or 12. But make sure to like, comment, share, always subscribe, and we outie.
We going up like 1,000. I'ma flex just like a MuscleManMalcolm. We going up like 1,000. I'ma flex just like a MuscleManMalcolm. When it just like 1, 2, 3. If you like the channel, this subscribe. If you like the channel, this subscribe. If you like the channel, this subscribe.